by the rivers of Babylon. Yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Oh,
Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai. Giving all honor, praise, and glory to the Most High God. Thanking the Creator of heaven and earth for life, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And thanking you all for being here with us, joining us once again. Early Shabbat Shalom to everyone out there. Giving all honor, glory, and praise to the Most High God, Creator of the universe. Yehudah is his name. We honor and praise his name for all that he's done for us, for being the God of the universe, for allowing us to all wake up, and praying that the Most High God will continue to bless each and every one of us as we acknowledge him as being the only God. And unto him and him alone do we give glory. Hallelujah. Thanking you all for joining us. Early Shabbat Shalom to all of you out there. For those of you that might not know me, my name is Zurishaddai. I'm one of the teachers of Congregation BINAH, CHOKMAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. Our address is 382 Hamilton Avenue. And we thank the Most High God for all of you that continue to tune into us. We thank you. We appreciate you. Don't forget to leave your comments, to leave your questions in the chat, and we will be sure to get back to you hopefully in the following week. Thanking all of you once again for allowing us to come to your homes on this Shabbat day, and I pray that the Most High God will continue to bless each and every one of you. Early Shabbat Shalom to you once again, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the link. It costs you nothing to press down on that like button and to share the link. So, and also hit the notification bell so that every time we upload a new video, you will be notified. So today, we will be moving straight ahead, or moving right along, and we will be going to the Sidra of the Parasha, Lech Lecha, and for that, I'm going to pass it on to one of my teachers and one of my mentors, even Nasik, Zurishaddai ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Great. First of all, I'd like to praise the Supreme Intelligent of the universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. Due respect to the platform on the D.C.B channel platform, spiritual leader, Chief Prince Area of Saska, to the host Chief Uzael, to the Prince Chiefs, Kohanim, Rabbinate, Maureen, brothers and sisters, and visitors to the channel. I greet you all in the time of forefathers, Shalom Aleichem, and an early Shabbat Shalom. And I'm going to start off with Adonai, Septai, Ditakufia, Vitia, Theaka, O Lord, down my lips, and my mouth should declare that praise. I didn't have any comments that I picked up from the last review and highlights that I did. So moving forward, we'll be dealing with Lech Lecha this particular week, and I'm also touch on different parts of Lech Lecha when I go forward into the next sidra as well. So before we get into Lech Lecha, which starts at the 12th chapter of Genesis and conclude at the end of the 17th chapter of Genesis. And also the hop tours in the book of Isaiah. So I'd like to just go back a little bit to the end of the previous section, which is 11th chapter of Genesis, 27th verse. And it's bring us up to speed to the point where I'll be discussing and highlighting certain points in Lech Lecha. Now, these are the 27th verse of the 11th chapter. Now, these are the generations of Terah. Terah begot Abram, Noah, and Haran. And Haran begot Lot, or Lot. And Haran died in the presence of his father, Terah, in the land of his nativity. in Ur of the Chaldean. Information is important to remember going forward. Where they at. And Abram and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, and the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Iscah. And Sarai was barren; she had no child. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forth with them. And they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldean to go into the land of Canaan. And they came unto Haran and dwelt there. And the days of Terah was 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. The reason I read that because now that sets a stage for not only we give an origin of the main character, which is Abram at the time before his name was changed to Abraham, Abraham, about the background and the destination. And I think that's very key going forward. And the name of the sidra is Lech Lecha. Now, Lech Lecha literally means go, to yourself, go for yourself. And it could just say Lech. So why the extra thing? Let's go. But it's implying that your future, you haven't reached your zenith. You haven't reached your full value, your full worth. So therefore, you got to push forward. And one of the things pushing forward is that it takes effort to move forward. Sometimes, it's easy to sit still. It's easy to fall back, but it's hard to press on. And pressing on and saying, well, am I pressing on to really develop myself? If my movements would be in that direction. So now we read about Abram's family and read about his son dying. And they're traveling as a group. So there's a close-knit family. So it's important to realize that they're a close-knit family before we get into the portion of Lech Lecha. All right. And in the 12th chapter, first verse, and the Lord said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto the land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and be thou a blessing. All right, so now the other stuff is, first of all, he asking for self-imposed exile from family. Now, it shows that the father, and there was a close-knit family. And it shows the ultimate destination where the father Terah was headed. Why? They got a lot of, stories in reference to that. But I'm not going to go into the Midrashic stories in reference to all that area. But the destination was the land they call Canaan, the Holy Land. That was the destination. Why was Terah decided to go that way? And we know Abraham, as we can find out later, was called from Ur the Chaldean. So this is something to think about as we move forward. And one of the things is this. We find out the reason why God chose Noah and called him out. Because we get some ideas of his character. So he is worthy for God to call him. But with Abram at this point in time, we know nothing about what made him worthy. That the Creator, out of everybody in that family, sent us and singled him out above everyone in the family. So that's one point that they have a lot of different midrashes, issues on reference to that. But it's those different views that they investigate and stories that someone passed down or about, orally, because we don't have it in Tanakh. We find, they try to make sense of what make him different from the rest of the group. So, and we used to have the saying, the fruit don't fall from the tree that bear it. So we trying to say, well, was Terah had an inkling? Did Terah decide to say, look here, I'm gonna change my ways, whatever the case is? We read later on that he worshiped idols on the other side of the Euphrates. So where is he located now, and where was he headed? So there's a lot of questions to be discussed in those areas there. And then they say cut off family. Today, that's easy for people to cut off family members. But back then, it wasn't so easy to actually separate from your family. And then if I got to make a trip, I at least have in mind where I'm going on that trip, how long I'm going to stay, what is the distance on the trip, so all that information is missing here. It just says, you leaving your country, something I'm familiar with, the comfort zone, leave my family, so I'm not going to be related to anybody. And not only that, you're going to show me as I'm stepping which way to go. You're going to tell me ahead of time where I'm headed. You're going to tell me as I'm walking and making progress on the move where I'm going. So that's a strong thing right there that speaks to a person's character. And then he said, I will make thee a great nation, and I will bless thee and make thy name great. So that means all the stuff you're going to be worried about, I'm going to make sure you ain't got to worry about that. I'm going to bless you, and I'm going to make you notable. Because these are things, if you're moving a lot, you can't really build up an empire, wealth, if you're constantly moving. And also, you don't build up a relationship where your name become great in a community. So these are some of the things that the Creator said, I'm going to assure you, you ain't got to worry about those things, and then it says, and be thou a blessing. So now the Creator said, not only am I going to bless you, but this ain't just for you. So a lot of times when we get blessings, we think it's only for us. It's for us, for ourselves to do and share, push it forward. Try to, we supposed to be, a humanitarian. So if I'm blessed by the Creator, I should be blessed enough to bless somebody else as well. I should want somebody else to feel great along with me. I want them to have the things I would have if I'm doing that well. So this is what the Creator told Abraham, and be a blessing. See, some people just get blessed, but they're not a blessing to people they meet. They tend to standoffish from people they meet. The haves stay away from the have-nots. And that's not the way the Creator started off with this guy, Abram. And it said, and I will bless them that bless thee, and him that curses thee, I will curse. And in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. That means this is the first time in the history of mankind that God allowed human beings to actually say, you qualify to bless somebody. And this was this first human being that was actually allowed by the Creator to bless other people. Now we know Noah, when he got up the ark, he said, blessed be the God of Shem, and Yahweh should dwell in his tent. But he never said bless Shem directly, just the God of Shem. So in that way, you would surmise that he's being blessed in that area. And Yahweh, you hang around with him, because the Creator had blessed all of them when they came out the ark with a different manner, with a certain type of manner. So now we have a man here that not only he's going to be blessed, but he also is in the blessing business. And this is something that's really unique, that it starts with this man Abram, in that sense. And then it says, talking about, and them that bless thee, in the plural. So more people going to bless you as opposed to the individual who want to curse you. So that means you're going to be very, very influential and charismatic, that people, for the most part, going to like you. You're might find some individual that might not like you, but the majority of the people will like you. And that's something for a guy that's traveling here today and someplace tomorrow. So that's something for a guy to say, I'm on a mission for God, but yet you recognize and respect me at that time. And this is after shortly after the Marbles, the flood, and also the Tower of Babel, the destruction of the Tower of Babel. The scattering, I should say, the scattering, because the tower, they were so united that the Creator not only didn't destroy the work of the tower, but he also, didn't destroy the individuals that had it out to go against him at that time. So this is something to bear in mind. And so Abram went as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan. So now, and into the land of Canaan, they came. All right, so now before I go past the 6th verse there, and what we're looking at is that if we pay close attention to the beginning, it said, leave your family. Now you and your wife can be supposed to be one flesh. So they ain't talking about his wife. But Lot is family. And if Lot, as they say in Hebrew, Lot, if he's family, he's not supposed to be part of the mission. And he had another uncle there, and he had his father there. So Abraham was supposed to separate from all them. And then they usually say the nephesh, asur nefesh, the souls that he made. So, so how do you make a soul? That's something to discuss. It ain't so much the people got, but he made actually soul. So what do you mean by making a soul? I mean, ain't you, that comes from the Creator. So those are some things to look at and discuss more, because it's at the souls he made. One of the most popular said people that thought like him or believe in his, well, not necessarily also thought like him, believe in his mission statement. So that's another area there to discuss as you go forward. And what you would say, if he was called, and some of the questions you could discuss, like I sometimes bring up these different questions you discuss with your teachers and stuff, that if you was called out of Ur Kadim, and then you only leaving from Haran, when your father's already headed to Canaan and you stay in Haran, and then what is it? Did you need some moral support in your endeavor? You think you believe you couldn't do this mission alone, that you needed some support, a support system. So you already told to leave your family behind. That's supposed to be your strongest support system, is your family. So what about these people that's traveling with them? They need that. And then we find out later on he had a size amount of people in his household. So can you say, well, you need a certain type of support system before you make this move? So there's a lot of midrash stories on that. I just want to bring those things out as we go forward concerning Abram, because we don't know much about his prior life in the Tanakh. All right, so when we go forward from the 6th verse, it said, and Abram passed through the land of the land unto the place of Shechem, unto the terebinths of Moreh, and the Canaanites was then in the land. And the Lord appeared unto Abram and said, Unto thy seed will I give this land. And he built then an altar unto the Lord who appeared unto him. And he removed from thence and unto the mountains on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west, and Ai on the east. And he built there an altar unto the Lord, and called upon the name of the Lord. And Abram journeyed, going on still towards the south. So, for those that, later on say he didn't know then, the tetragrammaton and everything like that, though we know Moses writing this, Avram knew the tetragrammaton, and you can find out later on from the statements that's actually made. And the 10th verse, it says, And there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down into Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was sore in the land. And it came to pass that when he was come near into Egypt, that he said unto Sarai his wife, Behold, now I know that thou art a fair woman to look upon. All right. Now, before I go to the 12th verse, just the first. Now we know the earth was cursed because of what Adam did, and as long as Adam was on the earth, it was cursed. And we never ever read, though the earth was cursed, it said it would bring forth thorns and thistles, and that he would work at the sweat of his brow. Talking about Adam, and some of his descendants. So we never heard of a land where it had a famine. Now, why is a famine happening right now when he's supposed to be a blessing? And he done built an altar already. You know what I mean? And God had talked to him already from the onset, from the beginning, when he told him to go and told him about what he gonna do for him. And then when he got over to Canaan, he built the altar. All right, and God had told him, appeared to him and then told him, what are you gonna have, and that's it. And then next thing you know, he calls upon the name of the Lord, and the journey is still going south. And then at the 10th verse, and there was a famine in the land. Now, if you're calling on the Creator and it's a famine, what do that tell you? There's something to say, well, I need to find out if I'm supposed to be prosperous. How do I encounter right now something that's novel? The first time you read about a famine, period, in scriptures or in the earth in the period at that time. And it goes on to say, even after the mouth bulged, the dove come back with an olive branch. So they didn't say it was a famine, and they weren't worried about being a famine, and they landed on a mountain. So imagine now you encounter something that's just really strange and marvel. And Abram went down into Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was sore in the land. So he realized that Egypt had food, and he went down there in Egypt. And it said it was sore in the land, but if the famine was so sore in the land, it didn't say it affected anybody else in the land. It said the Canaanites in there was in the land at that time. So did he follow their lead or what? But you read that he seemed to be affected too that much, and he just decided to say, I'm going to break protocol and go on down in Egypt. And I know a lot of people have problems with, thinking our fathers don't have flaws, but that if it's because of their flaws, we can admire and appreciate them better because they overcome those different flaws over a period of time and be the great men and women that we look up to this very day. So and so we don't have no superficial heroes. We have normal human beings that we talk about in scripture. And it's in the 11th verse. I'm just going to 12th verse. All right, so now he just recognized his wife looked good. Don't you know, sometimes guys don't find, a woman that attractive until they figure they're about ready to lose them. Then they start looking at them a little different. you know, and they might feel they look attractive, and that's basically a good woman. If it's a good woman, that you'll feel that way. If she's a woman that's not so good, then it's not a problem. But if she was really a good woman, then when you figure the things start to separate, you feel bad. If she's not a good woman, life goes on. I was saved. So in the 12th verse it said, "And it came to pass, when the Egyptians shall see thee, that thou shalt say, This is his wife, and they will kill." They will see me. This is his wife. They would say, "This is his wife." Excuse me, and they will kill me. But thee they will keep alive. Say, I pray thee, thou art my sister, that it may be well with me for thy sake, and that my soul may live because of thee. So before we get into the 14th verse, I'd like to look at this area here, before we get a little further. And one of the things is that I'm going to put your integrity on the line, your moral, physical body on the line to save me, and yet I'm the one decided to go that direction. So, and they said they would kill me, and take you. Well, like most brothers, already know, in ancient times, that you murder a person, that's just one time. You can't murder them twice. We sometimes say, I'm gonna kill you and bring you back to life and kill you again. People used to say stuff like that, but basically, when you murder a person, it's one time. But if you commit adultery with another man's wife, you and then you go back and cohabitate with her again. You go back, cohabitate again. Every time you cohabitate and do that, you still commit adultery over and over and over again. That's several times. So they looked at murder and make her a widow. They look at that as a lesser crime than adultery. So that means that they had a certain type of thing where they say, okay, we cold-blooded, but we have our limits. People say, we cold-blooded, but we have our limits. And this is some of the things that Abram was worried about. And they said, look, I'm a human being. Now, the famine, he didn't call out for God. He going down into a place that's dangerous, and he ain't calling out for God. And yet, you will wonder, do he really believe in God? Which we're going to find out he really did trust the word of God. But, but it's going to be some issues there that I'm going to bring out later on, moving forward. I'm going to try to go through it kind of fast because it's very long. Sidra. And so in the 14th verse, and it came to pass when Abram was come into Egypt, that the Egyptians beheld the woman, that she was very fair, and the princes of Pharaoh saw her, and praised unto Pharaoh. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house, and he dealt well with Abram for her sake. And he had sheep, oxen, and he-asses, and men servants and maid servants, and she-asses and camels. And the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, What is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife? Why saidst thou that saidst thou she is my sister? So that I took her to be my wife. Now therefore, behold, thy wife, take her and go thy way. And Pharaoh gave men charge concerning him, and they brought him on the way, and his wife, and all that he had. So in other words, now, we think about the Exodus when we were thrust out of Egypt. Our father Abraham was thrust out. It said those men was, put in charge to make sure he's sent out of Egypt. Not just strictly protection, but get him up out of here. So how long you think he stayed there? How long the famine was? We know if you have a famine, you're really talking about a season. So how long you think he was there before this happened? And how long you think he stayed there in Egypt before he had to come back? And we know it was no great length of time, because if the Pharaoh took her into his household, the king of Egypt took her in his household at that time, then automatically that the Creator moves swiftly to protect the integrity of one of our matriarchs, which is Sarai at the time. And one of the interesting things is that when they pushed him out and thrust him out, it's the Creator working behind the scenes. Pharaoh had to figure it out. However he did it. There's a lot of midrash talking about how he come to the realization that she was hooked up with him and everything like that. But I don't want to go into what's not written in the text as I read. All right, so and when we pick it up from here, I like the 13th chapter, and I'm gonna go through that a little fast here. And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him into the south. Now Abram was very rich in cattle and silver and in gold, and he went on his journeys, journeys, more than one, stages. From the south, he went even to Bethel, unto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai. He wound up in the same spot that he was in the first place. Left and had to make a return. Something you're familiar with. Unto the place of the altar which he had made there at the first. And Abram called there on the name of the Lord. And Lot also went with Abram, and had flocks and herd and tents. And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together. Can you imagine? You got so much stuff, you can't dwell together. Is it a blessing or is it a curse? You got to ask sometimes. And in the 7th verse it says, and there was strife between the herdsmen of Abram's cattle and the herdsmen of Lot's cattle, and the Canaanites and the Perizzites dwelt in the land. All right, so now they're talking about two big nations right here, and we're talking about two individual family guys in the same family. And in 8th verse it said, and Abram said unto Lot, let there be no strife, I pray thee, between me and thee, and between my herdsmen and thy herdsmen, for we are brethren. Now he's the uncle, but he said we are brothers. Is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if thou take the right hand, then I will go to the left. And Lot lifted up his eyes, and behold, all the plains of the Jordan, that there is well watered everywhere, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou goest unto Zoar. So Lot chose him all the plains of the Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves, the one from the other. And Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain, and moved his tent as far as Sodom. Now the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners against the Lord exceedingly. Before I go to the 14th verse, if you're wicked, you're a sinner. But if you're a sinner, you may not be wicked. So what is emphasized here is that they was both. And they use the term, at the first characteristic is that wicked, and then they sin. But a person could sin but not be wicked. They believe this is the right way to do things, this is the way so and so should be handled, but they're not generally a wicked individual, and they sin according to certain dictates related to humanity and stuff like that. So I'm gonna give you one example for again a whole lot of questions, if I get any anyway. Say that you're selling the guy, you say it's 5 pounds of flour in this here sack. So when you give him the 5 pounds of flour, unbeknown to you, you think it's 5 pounds, and he buying 5 pounds. When you check it out later, it's only 4 1/4 pounds. So 3/4 of a pound is missing. 75% of 1 pound is missing. So you sold it to him. You sold him flour. You told him how much it weighed, and it was not the weight that it's supposed to be. And you charge him for the weight that you told him it was. So now you sin. If you didn't know at first, I wasn't aware of it at first, then you still sin, and it was wrong, and you took advantage of it. But that'll make you wicked, especially when that's why you're able to right certain wrongs in that area there. So that'll make you wicked, because some things you have the area of really making and setting right, and you didn't do it intentionally, unbeknownst to you. So that's just one little small example of a person, sinning, in that area. Or people might say, well, far as I could see, this the way it looked, about the situation. So therefore, I hold a guy accountable before it. All right, but they might saw wrong. So these are some of the things, in reference to that. But one of the things is the herdsmen's arguing, not Abram and Lot arguing. It was the herdsmen. So you would think that they would cause the herdsmen to calm down in the situation. But then they did not try to get the herdsmen to calm down in the situation. They themselves, before it got further, dealt with the issue. Now, if Abraham not only gave him the choice, but when we say the Canaanites and parasites in the land, two ways you look at that. One, outsiders, two different nations are getting along, and you and family, and you can't get along, because if Abraham realized it'd been mushroom up bigger than what it is. So whatever the arguments the heads of the herdsmen was going at, that it would cause a major, major problem. And then not only that, family business got to stay family business. You keep it within yourself. So Abraham he didn't try to settle disputes between the herdsmen. He tried to settle the disputes with the head who owned the herdsmen, which was Lot. So Lot didn't come along as a servant of Abraham. He come along as an independent individual. And then remember what I said. How long was the famine that he come into the land as a famine there? What did he see? When they get right back and get thrust out of Egypt right away, and they loaded down with stuff, and then Lot looked and say, wow, this place is really loaded up real nice, like the Garden of Eden. So that make you wonder and think about some issues there. Was and it's back, and he came back to the same spot where he was when he built the altar. All right, so and then he pitched his tent at a certain location. All right, so these are some stories that you got to look into a little deeper. I'm just going to peruse through them a little bit and try to highlight some things where you could just bring them to more of a discussion, amongst yourselves. And then I'd like to go further down, and it said that so Lot 11 verse. So Lot chose him all of the plains of the Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves, the one from the other. And Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the plains, and moved his tent as far as Sodom. Now the men of Sodom was wicked and sinners against the Lord exceedingly. And the Lord said to Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, lift up now thy eyes and look from the place where thou art, northward and southward, and eastward and westward. For all the land which thou seest, to thee I will give it, and to thy seed forever. And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth. So if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered. Arise, walk through the land in the length of it and in the breadth of it, for unto thee will I give it. And Abram moved his tent and came and dwelt by the terebinths of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built there an altar unto the Lord. All right, so now the Creator spoke to him now after Lot separated from him, and then it specified, this is the spot that you're going to have, and your seed after you. You know what I mean? And he said, look, you got to walk up and down it, lengthwise, breastwise, as saying, I own it. You can own something and don't actually, habitate in it at that time or take possession of it, but you actually be the legal owner. So the Creator letting them know that you can be the legal owner of this, but if I got a 32-room mansion and it's just me in this mansion, in some rooms in a little small house I'm in now, I might not go in there, but maybe once out the whole week, and it's a small house. So how much a 32-room mansion, and if I'm there by myself, somebody else could be living up there. A couple of people could be living up there in the mansion. I would never know, because unless I walk through it and check every room, so I own something that's too big for me to really possess at that time. So the thing is that the Creator letting Abraham know, this thing I'm giving to you, and you'll see after you. So that means right in there, and mind you now, he don't have any children at this time. All right, and this is what the Creator finally, speak to him again after Lot, because once the Creator told him to leave, then told him, that this land, he's gonna give you. And then he leave down and go down there. He built several altars so far. Abraham built several altars. But every time he built the altar, you don't hear God speaking to him after he built the altar. All right? And so it's very important to understand as we go forward. Those little subtleties that we need to pay attention to closely. All right. And then and Abram moved his tent, and he came and dwelt in the terebinth of Mamre, which is Hebron, okay, and built an altar unto the Lord. All right, then we read the 14th chapter about the First World War. All right, so we got the First World War going on in the 14th chapter between 5 kings and 4 kings. 4 kings dominated the 5 kings, and the 5 kings rebelled. One of the kings was Sodom, Gomorrah, Abner was born, and Bela, which was the old name for Zor. All right, so we know that they fought, and this guy that they rebelled against, in the 13th year. I'm not going to highlight. I'm just going to highlight certain things in that chapter, the 14th chapter, that he had some tune-up fights, and some of the people he beat with some giants. Now we're not sure who all the people is. We're not sure who all the players is. Technically, there's a lot of speculation about who exactly is all these kings on the other side, the 4 kings that actually is, the people that's actually being beat down on the way up for the big battle. So now what you have, and that's what I like about Genesis, that you actually have, a lot of firsts going on in Genesis. And one of the things in the congregation I grew up under, BINAH King, is that we focus so much on Genesis because you always could say, this is the first time this happened, this is the first time that's happened, and it's not this is the first time we read about so and so. So you're going to have a lot of that going on in Genesis. So that's why we tend to focus on that coming up, because say, oh, this is where it started at here. Before seeing it any place else, you find it starting right over here. So, or this was the stage that set this over here later on in motion. So we get a lot of things coming from Genesis. As we go forward, I like to look about the First World War. We know that the 4 kings conquered, the 5 kings, and Lot was taken captured. All right, so now since we find out that Lot was taken captured, and in here, we're going to pick up just a little bit when Abraham, get his servants to go ahead and fight against Lot. All right, so he had 318 men, and he had some allies, and let me just pick up just a little bit of that. All right, he had Mamre, Eshcol, and Abner. All right, these were Amorites. So imagine the Amorites was allies with our father Abraham. These are dignitaries here, and they're going to fight to rescue Lot. Now, when we say we'll separate, sometimes we separate. In other words, when you say you go to the left or go to the right, and you go to the right or go to the left, that means that if you over here, you ain't too far where I cannot, aid you and assist you if needed. So I'm gonna be close enough to aid you, but I'm gonna be far enough so you can have your own space and independence. So the separation with Lot and Abraham, sometimes you got to say, well, for peace sake, I gotta let him go on his own. And also, you figure Lot should have been more appreciated, but if he's supposed to separate, he shouldn't have been on the trip in the first place. And so, and we see that Lot was more about material value as well. And you're talking about Lot had a lot of cattle, but Abraham had gold, silver, and gold. So with Lot, we just feel he had cattle and servants and herdsmen. That's it. So, which is a little different. So you can find a lot of comparisons here. But after Abraham caught up with them and wind up, I might as well just read the 13th verse of the 14th chapter. And there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew. Now, this is the first time he's referred to as Abram the Hebrew. So that's the 14th verse of the 13th verse, going 13th verse of the 14th chapter. And now he dwelt there by the cherubims of Mamre, the Amorite brother of Ashcol, and the brother of Abner, and these were confederate with Abram. Now, when you talk about confederate, they use the term Baalei Berit, masters of a covenant or masters of an agreement, which is a strange term, which, you find that you say, wow, I'm a master of a commitment. I'm lords of commitment, of a covenant. And these are with Abraham. And yet, years later, when we come out of Egypt, we're not supposed to make no covenant with these people on the other side of the Jordan. And also that Isaac, during the patriarchal time, didn't want his children to marry those people of the land that they dwelled in. So it's strange that Abraham was such a strong confederate with these guys, and these guys risking life for him. And yet, Abraham was very charismatic individual. That goes to show that what the Creator said concerning Abraham was true, that, he got more people that like him than those that don't like him, and during this thing, they risked their life to help him. And he was nowhere near where the action going to happen. It could have turned that way. It could have came where he at, because he had a lot of tune-up fights on the way to fight those 5 kings. But the thing is that he took an interest because of Lot. And it said somebody had escaped. And don't say who escaped. So there's a lot of midrash concerning who escaped. All right. Now, and it goes on to say that in the 14th verse, and when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he led forth his trained men born in his house, 318, and pursued as far as Dan. Dan, that's the name that's going to be given later on. So to show the writer, it's a thing about the writer himself, and the time period. And he divided himself against them by night, he and his servant, and smote them and pursued them unto Hobab, which is on the left hand of Damascus. That's a long way that he traveled to pursue him. I mean, it's good enough to, they get the victory, and this is the first time you have what they refer to as guerrilla warfare. So that's another thing that you find in Genesis, guerrilla warfare. He coming at night to attack him. But the army, it's the strategy. He split himself up, and attack them while they might be, celebrating, and everything like that. And then we know that, and he brought back all the goods, and also brought back his brother Lot and his goods, and the women also, and the people. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Kedorlaomer, the kings that were with him at the Baal of Shiva. and the same as the king's vow. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine. He was priest of God, the Most High. All right, the term used as, El Elyon, and use that term there, not Elohim, not Elohim Elyon. There's a El Elyon in the singular, in that sense, the Most High, and he met him with something, bread and wine, and he was priest of God, the Most High, and he blessed him and said, "Blessed be Abram of God, Most High, make up heaven and earth, and blessed be God, the Most High, who hath delivered thy enemies into thy hand." All right. Only thing I always point out when I get to that verse is that he should have blessed the Creator first, and then blessed the individual. But he blessed the individual instead of the Creator first. So there's a lot of talk, discussions about the way he framed it. Because normally we bless the Creator, and then we bless the individual. But this is, you could discuss it with your teachers and stuff like that about that formula there. And they always ask, who's this here? Because is that just a title, a king priest, a king of righteousness? Is it just that concerning this individual, or is it in an area where that Abraham himself, recognized him as being somebody of prominence? Now we know when I tell you about the names, before the flood, all right, before the flood, it talk about Seth living so many years and have sons and daughters, then he died, and it goes on and up to all those guys having sons and daughters before the flood, and they died. And then you read about Noah died, but he's from that time period. But after that, you just read, it'd be a while before you read about, like we just read about Terah dying. And the reason is that the first part before the Malbu, before the deluge, that is, talk about they lived so many years, and then they died, meaning that not only they was able to meet people, give you an idea who they met, but also is to say that they wasn't the people that was, destroyed by the flood, had some untimely death. They live a full life, pretty much, in that sense. So, so that's one of the reasons there, in that sense. But when we go back and look at posterity or so and so having so many children and stuff like that there, and they just say all the days was, so we assume that that was it. But it use the term that they died, in that. So that's the difference in those areas there. And then with Shem, they only give you the ages of those people there. With Shem, they let you know who's still alive at the time to still transmit the right story. So I know a lot of people, they have what you call, every society have oral tradition. Every society that exists, because before you write stuff down, you learn it orally. We learned law, Torah, we heard it first before it's written down. Moses had to get the tablets later. So there's always an oral tradition. But the problem with oral traditions is some people hear things a slightly bit different with oral tradition. Some people in the oral tradition, because of tone nation, might take things in a subtle different way, and have a different understanding in the way they say certain things. So when you write something down, it's etched in stone, and it's pretty much straightforward with very little flexibility. So when we start getting stuff written down, which is later on, that's why Moses was told to write certain things down. That's why you find that Moses wrote, 13 copies he gave to the 12 elders of each of the tribes, and then one for the priests. And the king supposed to get write a copy from the priests instead of the elders. And I explained that before, that when they write a copy of the law, everybody didn't have a scroll. Everybody didn't have a library in ancient times. So a lot of times you had to rely on people's memories and oral traditions. And sometimes people will embellish things or put a little twist on things, like the telephone game. So that's why it's one thing that I would look at more so when I deal with the scriptures, and compare with what you hear from oral tradition. So here it is that at this particular time that we know that certain people was able to still alive. So most people, one version, and this is what I taught coming up, and this is what I learned coming up in my, in the group I'm from, that this same guy was the guy Shem, where the Noah blessed and said, "Blessed be the Lord God of Shem." So that's, and Shem definitely lived past Abraham's time. So that's my viewpoint on it. And that the true living, the knowledge of the true and living God have not ceased from the earth. So Abraham is not the only one that worshiped the true and living God. And Abraham gave him a tenth, a tithe. The first time you got the term tithe being given was with Abraham to this particular guy. So those are some of the other first things that we read about going forward. All right. So then we'll have to go further. The 21st verse. And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, "Give me the persons and take their goods for thyself." So we read about Abram and Sarah making souls. So Abram was influential with men. Sarai was influential with women. So women more so in ancient times exercised influence on women in that sense. And we had the same thing with Miriam leading the women and never said she led the men. See, today, the problem is today that a lot of, and I just want to bring this out, and as we go forward, is that some people, when it said the souls that they had gotten, Sarah was very influential. So it says they and not just him. She had skill and also, be able to share her belief. Abraham did that too, and he focused on the men and sharing this and winning those guys over. And that's what they, one of the examples they say in explaining the souls that it's gotten. Now here, he had the priest meeting them with bread and wine and blessing them, and didn't ask for anything, and he got something. And he got the king of Sodom, which we read about. They was wicked anyway in the first place, and that he said, "Look, you keep the property and give me the souls. I want the souls, the mindset of those individual people." Now you would say, you bringing nothing, you have nothing to give, and yet you're going to tell me what I can have. You was a captive. You part of the rescue. You wasn't. You just wound up being part of the rescue mission, but I wasn't after to rescue you. I was after to rescue Lot, my nephew. So, and it's lots of things to think about. The mindset that you got a priest bringing stuff and also is rewarded. Gratitude for gratitude, And here you got a guy who bringing nothing and instead of being thankful, he said, "Look, you take the property and leave me the people." Like he had some authority. So to let you know the mindset of Sodom going forward. And I just want to go just a little bit further right quick. I'm trying to get to, that's not the main part I want to speak on though, in this particular section, because I might have to touch on it again later on in the next segment before I go to the one afterwards. But one of the issues is that, Abraham said, he don't want to take anything from him, not even a shoe latchet. All right, unless you say, make it rich. And he said, he already, lift up his hand, and gave it a vow, so to speak, to the Creator, And it's interesting that he used a term, Lord God, the Most High. He used that term there, Adonai with the tetragrammaton. That's the first time that they are combined like that, and that's combined with Abraham. So when you check into those, look into the Hebrew part, you'll find, Adonai, plus the tetragrammaton. That's the first time that phrase is actually used in that sense, and it's used by Father Abram. All right. And that's before his name was changed. And 15th, we're talking about the covenant. And these are, after these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield, thy reward shall be exceedingly great. Now, that's those that follow a traditional prayer, and when they do the Amida, which is a standing prayer they do in the prayer, most standardized prayer books, they do several times a day. The first thing we talk about is God being Magen Abraham, the shield of Abraham. That's in the first part of the Amida that you say every single day. Those that say that particular prayer. I mean, you say what prayers you want to say, but I'm saying those that follow a traditional style of praying, that's the first thing you recognize, the shield. And why is that? Because those kings got people. You ambushed them. You had guerrilla warfare. And you slayed them, and they haven't slayed the people that you rescued. They fought them, but but the only casualties you might say might have happened was the 4 kings, and only the king of Sodom was the one that was still left. Because that's the only one he read about in this particular point in time. So the other 4 kings, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Adnan Zeboim, and the king of Bela. Bela, who was king of there, Zor. You don't read about them returning. You read about the king of Sodom, in that sense. And yet, Abram and them had killed all them other people and chased what he could chase back. So here it is that this, that this was a real slaughter that was done at this particular time, and people are going to say, I need to get some get back. Under normal circumstances, one battle usually do not end the war. And the Creator is assuring Abraham that you ain't got to worry about no repercussions. That's over with. Nobody coming looking for you. Nobody coming back at you. So this is something comforting, should be comforting. But then it goes on further, and it says, and second verse, and Abram said, O Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go hence childless, and he that shall be possessor of my house is Eliezer of Damascus? And Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is to be my heir. And behold, the words of the Lord came unto him, saying, This man shall not be thy heir, but he shall come forth. But he shall come forth out of thy own bowels shall be thy heir. And he brought him forth abroad and said, Look now towards the heaven and count the stars, if thou be able to count them. And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be. And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness. Tzedakah, right? That's a term that's used right there for tzedakah, when another use a term. But what we also have here, and I want to bring out another verse in this particular portion, and I'm going to speed it up. Like I said, I'm going to have to come back to it. I'm just going to highlight a couple of things here. One more thing, and then try to pick it up at another time. One of the things that we have here is that this is the first time you read in Scripture where Abraham even conversed with the Creator. You never read where he conversed with the Creator until after that battle. After he's talking about your exceeding great reward. Before that, Abraham, you didn't read. He built altars, yes. He called on the name of the Creator, yes. But you never read, even from the beginning, that he ever had a conversation with the Creator at all. So you can say, well, what now prompts him to really work on a dialogue? When I called on the name of the Creator, did I call to have a dialogue, or I just called this to say prayers? In other words, I come to talk. It would be a joke. I heard from a rabbi, a brother in the community, a late rabbi, I'm not going to say Rabbi Bessel Shalom Allah. And I always remember when he was saying it one time that he went to the late Rabbi Matthews, went for Matthews' gravesite. And he said, he sat down there and he said, I come here to say a few words, but I didn't come here to talk. So in other words, he didn't want no reply coming back. He just, he wanted to say a few words, but he didn't want to come back to talk. So Abram, when he built the altar, he called on the name of the Creator, but evidently, he wasn't really prepared to talk at that time, or the Creator wasn't prepared to talk with him. So it's the first time you actually have an interaction between a conversation between the Creator of heaven and earth and our father Abram, before his name was changed, at this time. All right. So I just want to bring that part out, and I'm a fast, deal with the pieces, because this is one thing they had. And I'm gonna stop at this area here, and I'll just pick up next time, dealing with the well, you don't call it a dream, but a vision. That's what they refer to in the Hebrew, their vision, that Abraham supposed to have, and then it caused a deep sleep. So after he was promised that, that's what the Creator told him. And in that same chapter, the 15th chapter, and we're going to pick it up at the 7th verse. And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give thee this land to inherit it. And he said, O Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? Now, why do he want proof? Do you not believe God? When God always said it was accounted for righteousness in that sense, and it goes on to say, and he said unto him, take a heifer of 3 years old, and a she goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, a young pigeon. And he took them all these and divided them in the midst of, and laid each half over against the other. But the birds divided he not. And the birds of the prey came down upon the carcasses, and Abram drove them away. He used the term like he had to, snatch the stuff they was trying to get back at, so that means this is real offering. And you say, well, wow, it's out in the open. So, and birds of prey was coming down to try to grab some of the food that's there, because the carcass is there. And so it's so you can picture this particular scene here. And the 12th verse, it says in the 15th chapter, 12th verse, and it came to pass that when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, a dread, even a great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in the land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterwards shall they come out with great substance. But thou shalt go to thy father in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age, and in the 4th generation they shall come back hither, for the iniquity of the Amorites are not yet full. Now I want to stop there for a minute, because I heard a talk, and it's just always be a controversial issue here. It's not talking about the Egypt back then. It's talking about, the latter captivity, this captivity, or some other captivity. Now, if this is supposed to be the last captivity, it was definitely past the 400-year mark. All right. And in Egypt, it says 430 years, that, when the children of Israel, left out of Egypt, in the 430 years of serving in Egypt in the book of CHOKMAH, Exodus. So now we know actually they only did, when you do the math, they actually spent 210 years. Those that followed Flavius Josephus' writings, they'll say 215, and he calculated a little different way, 215 to come up with 430. it's always an issue of confidence. Some, say from the time of Isaac's, birth, which would make Abraham 100. So from the time of Isaac, they would calculate that. Now, the thing is that we know they didn't serve all that time, and we know they wasn't servants in a sense. All right. Now, when they went into Egypt, they sent down as VP. The only ones there is Joseph. And we know about that as well, that Joseph, went into Egypt. And, at the time, and it was like 22 years before Abram, him and the family hook up again. So, but what's interesting that is that he also says 4 generations. And I always pointed out when we get to Genesis, and he goes to names of the tribes from Reuben and to the fourth, the last guy that mentioned out the tribe of Reuben, Shimon, the last guy that mentioned out the tribe of Reuben, and then they go with the tribe of Levi, and the last guy they talk about, Amram, then they get to Moses. Moses and Aaron is the 4th generation, from Yaakov, the 4th generation. So now when we talk about 400 years, is how you calculate 400 years. And we know Adam, and I focus on this, so I hope people go back and do research on it as well. Is that the oppression of the death of all males had to be after Aaron was born, and Aaron is only 3 years older than his brother Moses, and Miriam is older than both of them. So when Moses was born, they had the edict of destroying all males amongst the Hebrews. That was the edict out. So we know that already. So you're talking about 80 years when we read about, ago, 80 years past ago that they had that edict, and it didn't continue because they didn't continue to press that edict of destroying males, amongst the Israelites. That only lasts for a very brief time. Servitude, the oppression, some gathering, when they say Levi, which is the last one that died at 137, after the last one of the original 12 sons died, which is, the guy Levi, that's when things start to change for the children of Israel in Egypt. So now we come back to say, well, how we calculate 430? How was we actually in there for 210 years? And I'll leave that for you to further research and do the math yourself, because sometimes in a book it use round numbers. Now I had this argument before where people say, well, the Creator don't use round numbers, and we say, well, okay, I'm gonna give you one that everybody agreed to. Everybody agreed that because of the bad report of the so-called spies, the scouts that went to spy the land of Israel in Moses' time, and they came back and they said they spent 40 days in the land. And he said, well, for each day you spent in the land, you'll be in the wilderness for 40 years. Now, how we know they didn't do 40 years because of that? Because it was a year later that they erected the Mishkan, the tabernacle, the second year in the Rosh Chodesh of the first month, the month of Aviv. And they observed Pesach 14 days later. You had 12 days of dedication. So if they did 40 years, they only did 39. We know also by other numbers, it says 600,000 men of war left Egypt. When we do the math, we come up with 600,350 something, 3 or something like that there of actual numbers of men. So there you go. 600,000 is a round number. When we talk about the tribe of Levi, and they say, well, there's only 22,000, from a month old and up of the tribe of Levi, that redeemed the children of Israel firstborn. But when you really do the actual count, it was 22,300. So, but 300 of them wasn't counted in that for a particular reason. So the Creator used round numbers and rounded off on sometimes like that in the book. And we have examples of that in the book. So when people, before generations, it's clear. And we know we ain't talking about over here, because he told Abraham that the iniquities that Amorites are not yet fulfilled. We are the Amorites today. And he said he's going to bring them back to that spot. So since he's bringing them back to that spot there, it's only talking about the land, of Israel, and it's talking about Mizraim, that area there, that spot, some place that they're familiar with. That's what we're talking about. When we're talking about going to a land that our fathers have not known, that 400 years don't apply to that at all. And it's been proven over and over again for everybody to say, well, time is up, time is up, time is up. So it's been proven that it ain't talking about this dispensation. It's talking about back then, at that particular time, and the people coming back up, because they got to be enough to be able to to fill the land. So, and that was a rescue mission, and those people was judged, with plagues, signs, wonders, and all kinds of stuff that they hit them with. So I want to be clear that, and then people could always leave a comment or a question in the chat. That I hope you got so we know right then and there that Abraham had this dread, and Creator said he's gonna judge the people, and he's talking about
Shalom, family. We can't hear Prince at this moment. I'm trying to figure out exactly what's going on over there. But his mic levels went down. So hallelujah. Thank you the Most High God for that lesson from Nasik. Let's wait to see if he could come back on and get everything going right again. Hopefully he could tune back in and get everything right again. So yes, Lech Lecha is a beautiful lesson. Shalom, Nasik. Yes, we hear you again.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So therefore, I hope you got some of what I said right now. Now, like I said, I'll try to conclude some of it later, and as I go forward into the next sidra. So, any mistakes been my own. I'm gonna greet everybody. Shalom Aleichem and early Shabbat Shalom.
Hallelujah. Torah about Nasik. Blessing. Hoping that the Most High God bless each and every one of you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget to press the like button. It doesn't cost you anything to press the like button. Shalom, family, and everyone have a blessed day. Hallelujah. Shalom.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah.